everyone, and welcome back to Transfer Weekly. This now episode number 7 of season 2 and the first one of 2024. It's been a little bit of time since we recorded our last episode, and since we've recorded our last one, there has been a lot of transfers, 21 in total to cover in this episode. I'm your host, Chris McCarthy. Great guest coming up for you in this one. Let's introduce our first one, a new face to the feeder series over the last few weeks, our F2 editor, Martin Lloyd. Martin, thank you very much for being with us for this episode.
Hi, really delighted to be here.
And coming back to the series, was with us in Series 1, back again for Series 2, our special guest for this episode, Aldas. Aldas, thank you very much for being with us again, mate.
No, thank you so much for having me on. It's been it's been a bit of a while, but yeah, definitely good one to be on, because this year, we were just talking about it before we were recording, this year is set to be a really exciting season, I think, for the single seaters. So yeah, looking forward to getting into it.
It really is. Let's go straight to the top of the feeder series route. That's where we're going to begin. We're going to be covering everything from Formula 2, Formula 3, FRECA and F1 Academy. As I said, 21 transfers to get through in total. And we're going to start at Formula 2 and with Prema Racing, who completed their driver lineup when they announced the signing, or the re-signing, shall I say, of Ollie Bearman for 2024, finishing 6th overall in his rookie season, 4 wins and 6 podiums he took last season, including that memorable drive at Baku as well. There's been a lot of talk around Ollie Bearman, Aldas, and that face-off, I guess, that he's going to have with Kimi Antonelli, and a great video you did on Kimi as well on your channel. What are your thoughts on Ollie Bearman being back at Prema, and your expectations for him going into this season?
Well, firstly, thank you for the compliment on the video. That's always great to hear. But I mean, there's always a lot of pressure on Prema as it is, but I definitely think in 2024, all eyes are going to be on them. I think coming into the season, I think the title favourites are going to be potentially, Ollie Bearman and potentially Victor Martins, even though I know that officially, I don't think he's actually been re-signed yet by ART. So yeah, I wonder what's kind of holding that up. But Ollie's going to be one of the title favourites. Undoubtedly, I think that Baku weekend was just incredible. I mean, the pole position with the right hand down, the back-to-back wins as well. We talk about breakout races and breakout weekends, for the likes of Charles Leclerc in Bahrain when he was in Formula 2. And that was definitely the one where I think people really took notice of Ollie Bearman. Obviously, that Haas partnership has already begun, so he'll be looking, into Formula 1 a little bit, but he's got a very tough teammate. I've not seen this much hype about a driver, before Kimi Antonelli since basically, even not even Max Verstappen, because he came in so quickly. Man. So, and it's going to be tricky as well because, brand new cars as well. So I think Antonelli comes in all that speed, all that pedigree. They have raced before in Formula 4, I believe. So, they kind of know each other a little bit, but yeah, that's going to be the big one to watch, isn't it? Because I think both of them have a chance to potentially be in Formula 1 in 2025, with it being such an open market. So beating your teammate, especially in a team like Prema, is going to be massive. So I can't wait. I do expect Ollie surely must have, the upper hand, but again, brand new cars. I think potentially that might even things out. So yeah, I just can't wait. Of course, I'm always excited for Formula 1, but I'm so excited to see which one of these two comes out on top.
Yeah, Prema, with the experience they had, no doubt are going to be looking to get on top of that car as quickly as they can. So let's see how he gets on. Of course, he did have those outings in the Formula 1 car as well at Mexico and Abu Dhabi, but say nothing less than a championship win Ollie will be going for. Let's go to Formula 3 next. Martin, we're going to come to yourself. We're going to talk a bit about the newly named Rodin Motorsport, because they announced first 2 drivers for 2024. 2 drivers coming up from the GB3 Championship in Callum Voisin and Joseph Loake. Joseph Loake, of course, winning that Aston Martin Autosport BRDC Young Driver of the Year award. Callum winning the GB3 title. So 2 drivers who battled it out for the GB3 title and that Young Driver of the Year award as well, now becoming teammates in Formula 3. A great story, isn't it? And a great partnership there for Rodin Motorsport to work with.
Yeah, I think this is a really exciting partnership for Rodin Motorsport to have in Formula 3 next season. Starting with Callum Voisin, he of course won the GB3 Championship last year. He beat Alex Dunn by 18 points, and that's no mean feat in itself, given how talented and how well regarded Alex Dunn is. And he took 2 wins and 11 podiums to do that. It will be difficult for Voisin this year and Loake because of the nature of the GB3 calendar and where that does focus on Britain. It will mean that Spa, Silverstone and Zandvoort are the only tracks that the 2 of them have raced at recently in GB3. But I do think that both of them have the quality to kind of bridge that gap to maybe the FRECA and Euro Formula Open rookies who may have previously raced on those tracks. As you mentioned, Joseph Loake, the Autosport Young Driver of the Year award winner. I think he's also a real talent, and this was actually his first year of GB3. He'd had a couple of really consistent years in British F4, coming into that third place in GB3. And I think this is a move that maybe wasn't expected in terms of we didn't know if Joseph Loake was going to be able to find a seat in F3 this year, but it's really, really good that it has happened because he's definitely got the talent. And I think Rodin have got a really solid partnership going into F3 next year.
Yeah, it wasn't that postseason testing, but I think the money he received for winning that Young Driver of the Year award has helped get this over the line, hasn't it? So the first time he sits in that car, it's going to be a pre-season testing, which takes place in about a month's time at Bahrain. I want to come to you. We're going to stay on Rodin Motorsport, or what was once Rodin Carlin Aldas, because of course they have been renamed. I think before we go more on transfers, we'll talk a bit about this. I think this has been the big story of this week, hasn't it? The Carlin name leaving the feeder series world. I don't think we'll reflect too much on how that happened, more on what Carlin have achieved as a team, because they've, Trevor Carlin has done such a fantastic job as a team principal, hasn't he, over the years? The amount of drivers he's brought through has been fantastic. So it's a real shame to see him stepping back, isn't it?
Yeah, like you said, again, maybe we're not going to get too much into the split. Apparently, there was a little bit of obviously tension between the two kind of owners. But yeah, Carlin, such a legendary name in British motorsport. I mean, I remember seeing a video a few years ago about I think he was talking through all of the drivers that have gone through Carlin, and you forget just how many, the likes of Carlos Sainz in his very early career. Of course, Lando Norris was a massive part. So yeah, such a legendary name. But I think the big question for me is, I'm not going to say they kind of lost their way over the past 5 years, but because, especially in the likes of Formula 2, Formula 2 and Formula 3 have always been kind of Prema and ART that have just dominated it. But I'm very looking forward to see if Rodin can perhaps, in some way carry on that legacy. They've got a really interesting driver lineup with the Super Formula champion, Ritomo Miata. So that's going to be a very, I can't wait to see how he's going to do. They've got a very solid driver in Zane Maloney. So yeah, I'm just kind of looking forward to seeing if they can perhaps, get back up to where Carlin were, in their kind of heyday in the mid 2010s. So yeah, it's going to be sad to see them, but yeah, ultimately there was again a bit of tension in the background, stuff that we're probably not going to get too much to know about, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, 7 F1 drivers I made it currently on the grid this year. He worked with throughout the years, winning in, he's won titles in F2, F3, F4, Macau, and even over in the States as well, Indy Lights and stuff like that. So he's done an absolutely superb job. Wish him all the best for whatever he goes on to do next. And he did say it won't be, or someone said on his behalf rather, it won't be the last you see of him in single seater. So look forward to seeing what he does next. Okay, let's go to FRECA now, Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Martin, we'll come back to you. And again, we're going to ask you to speak about a couple of drivers here, because RSGP have completed their driver lineup now by announcing 2 drivers since we did episode 6 in Zachery David and Enzo Deligny as well, who are both jumping up from F4. This making a pretty strong lineup, both of them racing in different F4 championships. Zachery coming up from Italian F4, Enzo coming up from Spanish F4 as well. They both picked up several podiums in those championships, both finishing well within the top 10. They're making a pretty strong outfit here, aren't they?
Yeah, I think this is a really exciting lineup again for RSGP. They're, of course, a really strong team in FRECA, and I think that David and Deligny together make a strong team. I think that David, of course, finished 7th in Italian F4 and Euro 4 last season with a couple of podiums to his name. I think that maybe that didn't quite reach the heights of Deligny, but I think there's also some clear talent there from other series that he's competed in, such as the Formula Winter Series, where he managed to finish 5th, even though he only competed in 2 races. In the end, he just won both of them. He's also a former Sauber Academy driver, and I think the clear talent is there for David. It's just the question of whether he can show it at that FRECA level, especially alongside a talent that is as clear as Deligny. He's a Red Bull junior. He made appearances in Italian F4 and Euro 4, but as you said, his main category was Spanish F4 last year, finishing 4th with 10 podiums. And I think that he can really complement David with having 2 rookies in there. I think it's a really exciting lineup to see how they both fare in such a strong team. And I also think it's a big statement from RSGP to sign 2 rookies that are really likely to be up there, especially at the end of the of the rookie standings. If not at the top of the driver standings, we'll have to wait and see for that one.
Yeah, two Qatar is going to be with them as well, and all of them out in the Formula Regional Middle East Championship, which kicks off this weekend, or as we speak, shall I say. So best of luck to them. They're going to be coming in with a bit of experience behind them. Speaking of experience, let's come back to you, Aldas. Let's go to Formula 2 next. Going into his 4th season, Richard Verschoor announced that he is going back to Trident for his 4th season in the championship. He, of course, raced with them in 2022. He finished 9th with Van Amersfoort last season, took that win at Red Bull Ring after it was stripped away from him the year before, and now he is back with Trident once again. Was racing out with them at Macau, finishing 6th there. What do you make of Richard Verschoor going back to Trident? I mean, it's a driver, I think he's got a huge amount of support behind him off the track from the fans. Good to see him going back to Trident, isn't it? I think that the plan there definitely trying to help them move up the grid, would you say?
Yeah, he brings in a lot of experience, like you said, 4th year. It's actually quite rare to see a driver return actually to one of their teams and have that kind of longevity. And yeah, you talk about, the kind of his fan base. I was actually lucky enough to be at the Red Bull Ring last year when he won that race. And I mean, obviously it was kind of Dutch mania because of Max, but they also embraced Richard as well. So it was just, it was brilliant. And I think obviously they haven't confirmed their full driver lineup. So they are looking to kind of just, I think, bring in a lot more experience. I think my only worry perhaps is, finishing again 9th last year is good, but this year the grid really steps up, and once you get into your 4th or 5th year, it's a little bit tricky in that second one. You don't want to kind of like be there for too long. There's a bit of a perception that you've got to at least be challenging for consistent race wins. So yeah, I think for Trident it's just about experience getting up the grid, but yeah, I think he's got to try and improve. But again, the quality of the grid is so high, so we've got a really good benchmark there in Richard Verschoor right there. So yeah, I think it's a good signing for Trident, but again, I'm looking forward to seeing who they're going to partner up. Perhaps even more experience, or going with perhaps a junior driver, a hotshot that hasn't been in Formula 2 yet. So yeah, waiting to see on that one.
Yeah, well, I'll have to see who he goes with. I mean, he was 4th in that first day, wasn't he, at postseason testing? So he came in very, very quick into that test. And it was, I know Ollie Bearman was one of the drivers testing that week, but he's already been confirmed elsewhere. But Christian Mansell was another. But as you said, it's a bit open, isn't it, that second seat? So we'll see where he goes. Let's stay with Trident, move down the categories and go to the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine Martin. Again, with 21 transfers, we're going to ask you to speak about more than just one driver. Another driver staying with the team, I guess, Roman Bilinski, back with Trident in FRECA for his 3rd season, and he's going to be joined by Ruiqi Liu as well. So, I mean, what do you make of, firstly, I guess, Roman Bilinski staying on? He's going to be going, I guess, for the title this year. Didn't quite work out for him last year. And then I guess you could fill us in a little bit about what he's going to be expecting on the other side of the garage there with Liu coming in.
Yes, it was a bit of a disappointing season for Bilinski last season, managing at 21st position. It was his 2nd season. It's his 3rd year this year, so he's really looking to take on that team leader role, especially with an inexperienced teammate in the form of Ruiqi Liu. I also think that with Bilinski, it may not have shown last year, but there is some talent there. He managed to finish 7th in GB3 in Zach O'Sullivan's dominant year, even though he missed the first 6 races, which I think was a good achievement. He also got a podium in his first year of Formula Regional at the Hungaroring. So I think that although maybe last season was difficult, there is definitely potential there for Bilinski to challenge for something a bit higher up the grid, and he's going to need to, because his teammate Ruiqi Liu is going to need lots of support coming from F4 straight to FRECA with Trident. He finished 14th in Euro 4 last year. He also competed in Italian F4 and Chinese F4, so he's got lots of experience at that level. But it's whether he can find a new level of performance as he jumps up to Formula Regional at a much higher level. And I think that will be Bilinski's job for the 2024 season, is to try and lead Liu and to try and push that team forwards with an experienced pairing.
Yeah, he's going to be the lead driver. Nikhil Loake jumps up from F4 as well to join that team. So very much Roman will be leading that team, and Liu's going to be out in the Formula Regional Middle East Championship as well. So we'll pick up that experience there as well. We're going to complete our segment with Trident, because they made a lot of announcements, almost forcing us to do this whole big section on them, with their final announcement that they did in Formula 3. They completed their driver lineup there by announcing Santiago Ramos, the Mexican driver, joining them for the Formula 3 season in 2024. Aldas, quite an exciting one, really. Jumps up from FRECA, finished 11th there last year, had a bit of a tough run in the second half of the season with RPM. He did miss a round as well, but in the first half showed some really good pace, and I think that helping him join the reigning champions. Santiago Ramos, I mean, joins the reigning champions, so like Gabriel Bortoleto, I guess, who went in not really a favourite in many's eyes, he could be an underdog coming in. What do you reckon to that?
Yeah, definitely. He's got a difficult teammate though in Fornaroli, because he had a really good season, relatively speaking, last year. So again, a really good benchmark. I'm not quite sure really what happened to the end of the season, because he got that early podium and then didn't quite materialize in FRECA last year. But again, there's going to be that expectation, especially after Bortoleto, winning the championship. Is he going to be able to kind of go up a level and potentially match Fornaroli and maybe challenge for the title? Because there is that's kind of what happens when you step up to one of those teams. So yeah, it's also actually really exciting to see a Mexican driver as well, because I feel like we haven't had too many kind of exciting Mexican drivers for a while now. So yeah, that's also really great. And again, Formula 3 perhaps not quite, it won't quite have the edge over Formula 2 in terms of excitement, but it's still plenty of great drivers. So, but it's going to be a big step up, especially after that tough end to his FRECA season. So, stepping up in cars, stepping up in competition. Hopefully he'll be able to bounce back and show some of that first half form that he had in FRECA.
Yeah, let's see how he goes. I mean, he did help RPM to their best season, it must say, but Trident overall, I said they're going to defend their title, wouldn't they? And they've got a pretty solid outfit. Leo Fornaroli, as you mentioned, will probably be the driver they depend on most to do that. And best of luck to them as a team. Another team who completed their driver lineup, Martin, was High Tech Pulse 8, announcing Cian Shields, the Euro Formula Open vice champion, jumping up to join them. Finished as vice champion to Noel Leon, who's on the grid with Van Amersfoort. He took 4 wins and 10 podiums in 23 races, but did finish just shy of 90 points back from Noel. Only his second season out of karting, though. I mean, he's accelerated through the ranks very quickly, which I do think gets overlooked sometimes. This was one that I guess some people didn't take to completely well sometimes, because some people thought Alex Dunn was going to get that seat. What do you reckon? I mean, Cian Shields does get the seat and has come through the ranks very quickly, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, I think Alex Dunn did merit a seat in Formula 3 this year, but I also think Cian Shields had a good claim to one as well, because Shields is the vice champion in Euro Formula Open. And as you say, it was only his second season out of karting. So to make the step up, firstly to GB3, which he did in 2022, he finished 13th there, and then moving into the Euro Formula Open category, I think it's quite impressive that he's managed to progress as far as he has in those first 2 years. It will be a difficult season for him because of that inexperience, and also because his 2 teammates are quite so good. He is going to be alongside Luke Browning and Martinez Stenchorn. Of course, Browning, a talent in F3 last season in the Williams Academy, and Martinez Stenchorn, a really, really impressive rookie in Formula Regional last year. So it'll be difficult for Shields, but I do think that he has the talent for Formula 3, and I think it's really impressive how he has made his way up to that championship quite so quickly. And it'll be really interesting to see how he fares against those 2 teammates who will be a really good benchmark for him.
Yeah, he did some good things in karting. I remember him from that, and to go straight from that to F3, GB at British level, and then to jump in to Euro Formula is very impressive and be vice champion. So good luck to Cian Shields, and I think that does get overlooked when people do kind of fight that seat for Alex Dunn. Okay, Juan Manuel Correa. Let's come to him next, because he switched over to Dams for the 2024 Formula 2 season. So great, wasn't it, to see him back in Formula 2 last year, Aldas, and he completes an all-American lineup over at Dams, joining Jack Crawford over there now. He's back now for what's going to be his second season. We saw him in the points 6 times last year. We also saw him at the 24-hour Le Mans, which was absolutely fantastic. It's just so good to see him back up there, isn't it? And fighting inside the points. And this, I'd say, definitely, with Van Amersfoort being new to the category, an upgrade for him in teams, isn't it?
Yeah, that's literally what I was going to say. I mean, first of all, just his comeback to Formula 2 and the fact that he was still, relatively competitive was really great to see. But it's tricky with Van Amersfoort, stepping up to Dams, up against a tricky teammate as well. Again, Jack Crawford, all-American lineup, which I don't actually remember the last time that happened in Formula 2. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. But yeah, Jack Crawford, again, kind of has that Red Bull connection. So, and he's a lot younger as well. So that's going to be quite interesting. But up against a tricky teammate, But yeah, when you get to Dams, we know that team is capable of winning races. We know that they're capable of, being on the podium consistently. I mean, Ayumu Iwasa could have potentially, with a bit more of a consistent season, challenged for the title. So yeah, it's going to be a much better kind of step up for him. And now again, going into what I think, kind of his third season now. Obviously, he's had a really kind of tumultuous career and path to getting here. But yeah, now with all of that experience and a good team, again, just adds to the quality of this grid. Potentially, I'm looking for him to, get more podiums and actually win races. I mean, what a story that would be after his comeback. But again, tricky teammate, but he's in the right car to get it done.
Yeah, let's hope he can do that. And great to see him do it. That's going to be an exciting team over at Dams, as you mentioned. Okay, let's go to MP Motorsport next. And FRECA, they signed their first 2 drivers for this season in Nikhil Bohra, who stays in the championship, switching over from Trident, and someone new to the championship in Valerio Rinicella. Nikhil Bohra did some great things, didn't he, Martin, particularly at the start and the end of the championship. And then we've got a new face in Rinicella who comes up from F4, staying with MP Motorsport. So some consistency for him there.
Yes, for Nikhil Bohra to start with, I think he had an impressive first season at this level. Of course, he managed 12th in the championship. They did beat both his teammates, as well as getting a standout podium in the opening round at Imola. So I think there's some clear talent there for Nikhil Bohra. He also raced in the Indian Racing League, finishing 3rd, and he was 9th in Formula Regional Middle East as well. And he finished in the top 5 in the tests with MP at Mugello, Imola, and Barcelona. So I think Bohra is really one to watch for 24, given that pace. He's partnered by Valerio Rinicella, and he graduates from F4. He finished 3rd in Spanish F4, taking 2 wins and 12 podiums. So I think that's going to be a really exciting partnership to have those two at MP. He also competed in F4 UAE and finished 4th there. And they'll both be competing together in Formula Regional Middle East, which is starting as we speak, as you say. And it'll be really interesting to see how they fare this season together at MP.
Yeah, best of luck to the Mandy MP team after, of course, a tough year for them last year. Okay, let's go back to Formula 3. Exciting signing, this one for me. Sophia Flörsch announced she's switching over from what is now the PHM AIX racing team to Van Amersfoort Racing. I mean, the person that no one could really overtake last year, Aldas, because she made in total over 141 places throughout the season, 7 places per race, and she never lost 1 position in any race. And she had that fantastic drive, 24th to 7th at Spa, becoming the first female driver to score points in FIA Formula 3. I mean, she was fantastic to watch, wasn't she?
Yeah, and I didn't even know that stat. That's brilliant. I mean, that's crazy. So we know that she's got the definitely the racecraft, and again, stepping up similar to how I talked previously, stepping up to a more competitive team. I think Van Amersfoort last year were fighting for podiums and maybe even got a win as well, if I remember correctly. So again, those expectations are going to be there with her experience. Again, scoring one point, and again being the first female driver to do so in Formula 3. So again, it's just about building as well. She's got again that experience and that speed in a better team now. So I think looking for her to be a more consistent point scorer, I think is going to be the way to go. But like you said, she had definitely had a lot of highlights. Last year. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully she'll be able to kind of kick on from there and be again a consistent point scorer this year.
Yeah, she's going to be a dark horse for me. Let's quickly go through couple of the last ones from FRECA. G4 Racing have got their first couple of their last of their drivers in G4 Racing. Jesse Carrasquedo Jr. and Kanato Lee as well. Kanato Lee coming from British F4, 7th in that. And we saw Jesse a couple of times as well, didn't we, Martin, in FRECA last year? So he comes in with a bit of experience, but did most of his racing in Spanish F4 last year.
Yeah, it's a big step up for both of them. Kanato Lee was 7th in British F4 last season, and it will be interesting to see how he fares against Carrasquedo, who, as you say, he has got that little bit of experience. He competed in 2 rounds of FRECA last season with VAR, and I think it will be really interesting to see how they compare. Carrasquedo, he did finish 19th in Spanish F4 last season, but I think it's important to note what G4 said in their press release announcing his signing, saying that it was a significant learning and development opportunity for Carrasquedo. So maybe this year is a bit more of a foundation year with a view to him pushing on further. So I don't know how much to expect from that, and hopefully both drivers can really develop at G4 this year.
And we'll quickly pick up F1 Academy before we finish over at F3. they've announced the next to their drivers. Sauber have picked their driver for the season, Aldas, and that's Carrie Schreiner, who's switched over from ART to Campos as well. So great to see that grid growing, and that's 5 F1 teams now who have picked their driver for the year as well. It's looking exciting, isn't it, the F1 Academy season?
Yeah, definitely. I think after last year, I think I had actually quite a good and positive debut. And I think more important than anything else is to see those Formula teams, you know, back F1 Academy and the drivers. And obviously, Carrie had a pretty good season, although given that she is 25, I kind of expected a little bit more because, again, you know, F1 Academy is all about the kind of the youngest of the youngest at Formula 4 level. So I think there's going to be a lot more pressure for her, with her experience having won races in the past in cars to really be to have much better results, because I think she finished 10th in the end or somewhere around there. So yeah, she's going to need to kick on. But again, I'm looking forward to seeing another season of F1 Academy continue to grow, you know, learning off the back of their inaugural season. And yeah, very exciting for their second season.
Let's go to Formula 3 then next, Aldas, because I think quite a nice story, really. Matias Zagazeta joining Genza Motorsport for the 2024 Formula 3 season. One of the nicest drivers on the grid, I have to say. The driver from Peru as well, bringing a new nation to the grid as well. Is going to bring a lot of support with him and joins a team that did really, really well last year. Bringing new drivers who came in from F4 as well, putting them really high up the grid. I mean, Taylor Barnard did absolutely fantastic things with them. Now has the support of McLaren as a reserve driver. Nikita Bedrin got on the podium as well. So Matias Zagazeta, who jumps up from FRECA, is going to be in very good hands with Genza, isn't it? Coming off the back of what was one of their best seasons in a long time.
Yeah, definitely. I think the fact that he's, you know, jumping into a team that had all that success last year means that hopefully he's going to get really good equipment. I think when looking at, you know, FRECA, he wasn't always in the best car, and we know that, you know, despite the fact that it's a spec series, they're not, you know, it's not all quite the same. So yeah, he'll have really good equipment, really great car, a bit of pressure as well. I mean, off the back of, like you said, you know, Taylor Barnard, you know, won races and was on the podium quite consistently. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how he's going to do. And like you said, always great to have new nations in the lower formula as well.
Yeah, really, really good. So let's see how he gets on. Matias Zagazeta has been rumoured one of his teammates will be Charlie Wirtz, but I don't think that's been officially confirmed yet. Okay, let's end with FRECA then and with RPM, who another team, Martin, who had their best season last year, went up from, I think they were 9th in their first season in 2022, 4th last year. Keith Donegan doing a really good job running that outfit. I mean, he was a team boss who raced in his own car in 2022. Then ran the team last year and put them 4th on the grid. Giovanni Maschio joins them, switching over from the Monolite Racing team. And again, another driver who's going to be in very good hands.
Yeah, I think this is a really good move for Maschio. Of course, last season was a bit of a difficult one, finishing 34th overall, the best finish of 17th. But I think that move to RPM is going to really hopefully catalyze a step up in performance for him. Because RPM last year got something like 144 points with Monolite, unfortunately not scoring any. So I think it's a real step up in team for Maschio, and hopefully that'll prove to bring a step up in results as well. He's alongside Noah Stromstead, so it looks to be quite a strong team. And it's only Maschio's 3rd season in single seaters, so I think there's also a bit of slack to be cut in terms of he is inexperienced and he is still learning his trade in car racing.
Yeah, so I mean, seats remaining, I make that 4 left now at F2, 10 in F3, 16 in FRECA, 10 in F1 Academy. So still plenty of these to come. We'll end on some headlines. We, of course, have some team name changes, and Victor Virtuosi Racing becoming Victor Racing. PHM Racing have become PHM. AIX Racing. Taylor Barnard is now a McLaren Formula E reserve driver. Frederic Vesti joins Cool Racing for the European Le Mans Series in LMP2. There were some changes to the Ferrari Driver Academy lineup as well, so do go and check those out on the Feeder Series website. And then, of course, we have the F4 UAE Formula Regional Middle East Championship kicking off this weekend, and Cooper Webster, since our last episode, became the F4 India champion. I do quickly want to get your thoughts, Aldas. I know this has been quite a long episode on Frederic Vesti going to Cool Racing. We can't not have you here and ask you about that. What did you make of that for him? Vice champion now with European Le Mans Series LMP2 team. One that I was a little bit surprised about, I have to say.
I think it was a pragmatic move. I think it's, you know, Mercedes, they're not like Red Bull. You know, they focus mainly on one drive, and I do think it was a big disappointment for him to miss out on the championship, last year. I think you have to be kind of realistic in terms of, is that road to Formula One, where obviously he wants to get to. We know that he took part in a few free practice sessions for Mercedes. It's looking a bit tough, especially now with Antonelli. So I think it was just a pragmatic move. And I mean, to land on your feet and going to European Le Mans, I think it's just fantastic. So he's a quality driver, no doubt about it. He's won races before. Obviously, again, the vice champion, just missed out, had some really bad luck last year as well. Let's not forget that. So very easily could have been him. Instead of Teo Porcher. So I think it's actually a really good move. And I look forward to seeing, I actually have quite high expectations. So I look forward to seeing how he is going to do.
And very quickly, I mean, we've got our F2 editor. I know someone who loves F2. Are we both in agreement that this is going to be the best Formula 2 season, one of the best fought-out Formula 2 seasons? I'll start with yourself, Martin.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really, really exciting season. We've got champions coming from across the motor racing world. You've got Ritomo Maiata coming over from Super Formula, and he also actually won Super GT last year. And then you've got Kimi Antonelli, who performed so well in FRECA. You've got returning drivers such as Victor Martins and Ollie Bearman, who we've already discussed, who'll be still really strong. And I think they're probably the championship favourites. But then of course you've got the Formula 3 champion as well, Gabriel Bortoleto, who also won in his first year, to add into the mix. So I think it's looking to be a really exciting grid, and I think it'll be a really, really good Formula 2 season, especially with that new car to maybe level the playing field with that experience and inexperience.
And yourself, Aldas? In agreement?
Yeah, I mean, oh, absolutely. I mean, even the drivers, that weren't mentioned. I mean, Paul Aron as well. I mean, what a driver he is. So
yeah,
I look forward to him coming in as well. It's just such a stacked grid. And I love that there's champions from all over. Like we said, Super GT, the Formula 3 champions stepping up. And so, yeah, it's going to be incredible. And also the new cars, it's a new challenge for everyone. What is the new era of Formula 2 going to be like? Because this is going to be Formula 2 for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years until the next one. So, yeah, there's just so much. And I think what makes it more exciting than anything else for me is that in 2025, with the Formula 1 market being open as it is, with so many seats available, it really, anyone could jump out as a potential Formula 1 driver. So I think, yeah, everyone's got, a one eye on Formula 1, but yeah, there's going to be an amazing championship for us to watch this year, I should say, in the meanwhile.
Crucial season. Thank you both for taking the time to join us. Thank you all for watching. This has been episode 7 of Transfer Weekly. We will be back the same time next week for episode 8. But for now, from all of us at Feeder Series, it's goodbye.